my phone. It says Sari interview.
Sorry.
No. Okay. So my name is Dave Eckert, and my career has been spent walking in two different worlds. I've had one foot in the world of social services, adult mental health, mobile psychiatric rehabilitation, and I've had another foot in the world of the church, where I've been a pastor. But when you're in these two worlds for all this time, you learn a couple things. On the one hand, you realize that oftentimes the mental health field doesn't know how to navigate the spiritual dimension of people, while at the same time, often people in churches aren't sure how to walk with those experiencing a mental health struggle. And so it was seeing how each of those worlds was struggling with one way of loving people well that led to the start of Intersect. And Intersect is an initiative we founded that supports people at the intersection of faith and mental health through consultation, training, and then fostering collaboration between churches and mental health service organizations. And so we've been able to see in this work, not only are we able to help churches connect to mental health resources when we hear from pastors that they don't make referrals often because they don't know what services they can trust. We've been able to help them do that while at the same time helping people in social services who might be slow to do a spiritual assessment to be able to connect those individuals that do bring up a desire to be connected to a church. We've been able to make those connections happen so that people who've received services are now experiencing full-blown Christian community where they can use their gifts and experience the love of the church at its best. One of the things that oftentimes we talk about in our churches is how to be a disciple of Christ. But if we don't also address the issue of mental health struggles, then we're leaving one dimension of a person's life untouched around how they live for Jesus in that area. So by helping churches be able to walk with people well who are experiencing mental health struggles, we're not just doing justice work, as important as that is. We're doing discipleship work because we're helping leaders know, how do I help a person follow Jesus with the entirety of their life, even parts of their life that may feel at first a little confusing to me. And one of the things I'm really passionate about is being able to give pastors and leaders opportunities to take concepts like justice, like discipleship, like outreach, and be able to put real practical measures around how to actually do that. So you can talk about being a light to your community, but do you know who the resources and service organizations are in your community? You can talk about doing justice work and service work, but do you know how to actually build relationships with people who don't think like you? Do you know how to disagree well in a way where you maintain your convictions and you maintain your faith, but you're able to still help, as Jeremiah talks about, to seek the welfare of your city and to do good? Loving your neighbor is super important, but there are some practical ways that you can love those in the mental health field and people that all too often you just don't know about. I remember a situation where I was moderating a discussion between some pastors and a group of mental health professionals. And the pastor stood up at the end of that meeting and said, "I didn't know any of you guys existed." Meanwhile, at the same meeting, one of those mental health service organization directors said to me, "I've never been part of a conversation like this before." And we've been able to see how many good things happen for both the church and mental health service organizations when they begin to get to know who each other are and can collaborate for the common good that benefits both the church and those service organizations and the community as a whole. It's really important that if we are going to talk to secular mental health professionals about why it's valuable for them to connect people to churches, that we know how to translate our language, which actually isn't something that we're inexperienced in. We talk about Acts 17 and Paul at the Areopagus and how to talk to people in ways that are accessible to them. And so we just want to apply that to the work we do with mental health service organizations. So for example, if I'm going to talk as a pastor to a mental health service organization, I'm not going to talk about the importance of our ministries or talk about the kingdom of God or talk about the importance of a relationship with God. I want to talk about the importance of community and how one of the few concrete expressions of community in our region is the faith community, our churches. I want to talk to them about things they care about, like socialization, and how in a church there's going to be not just the building of relationships, but actually opportunities for people with mental health struggles to use their gifts to be able to help a community of people. And I think if we can go into those spaces and speak their language and talk about what's important to them, we can really build some bridges. Because I know as a service provider myself that we would often come to the end of a time providing a quality service to an individual and say, you know what, we have nowhere to discharge them to. They're just going to go live life on their own, and we may hear from them again in 6 months. But when we're able to discharge people to a local church with whom we've built a relationship, we've seen that make an impact. We've seen people experience community where now, instead of them calling a service provider or a mobile crisis team when they're in a bad, tough situation, they're calling people from their local church. They're calling people in their small group for support. That's the sort of difference that can happen when you learn how to build those bridges with the service providers in your region. One of the things we do is we provide consultation to churches and to pastors who call us, because a lot of times pastors just need a conversation partner. They need someone whom they can call when they're not sure how to handle a situation that is in front of them. I remember one pastor who called me and said, Dave, this situation is just above my pay grade. I'm not sure how to help this person. And this person was a very competent pastor. It wasn't that he wasn't skilled. He just needed someone with more experience in the mental health field to talk with him through the situations he was facing. One of the things we like to do is we provide consultation to people in social service organizations, where I'll get a call from a Christian social worker saying, or even a non-Christian social worker saying, I really want to pay attention more to the spiritual needs of people we serve. But I don't know how to convince my supervisor of that. I don't know how to talk to my organization about why this is helpful. And we provide consultation helping people in the secular social work field know how to make a case for why spirituality and faith matters for the people they serve. One of the services we provide is training to people in the social services about how they can better navigate the spiritual dimension of people. So we provide a training on spiritual tools and resources for practitioners, helping them look at how do we assess spiritual needs, support spiritual needs, and connect people to faith communities of their choice. We provide a training for social services around how to navigate worldview diversity. How do we understand that respect is different than agreement? That's an important skill if you, as a mental health provider, are going to partner with faith communities in your region in order to provide holistic support to people that you serve. We provide trainings to people within the church. We provide training around a biblical view of mental illness. We provide training around supporting people with mental health struggles in their congregation and in their community. One of the things we do in our work is we foster collaboration between mental health service organizations and faith communities. That sometimes means we're helping people from those social service organizations who want to get connected to a church to make that connection happen, because we know the churches in those communities who do really good work and know how to welcome people into their congregations. We connect people from faith communities, from churches, to social service organizations, because we hear pastors say, I want to make a connection. I want to be able to provide for the mental health needs of people in my congregations, but I don't know who I can trust. I don't know who to make referrals to. And sometimes I'm worried that if I make a referral to a social service organization, that they're not going to respect the faith of a person in my congregation. By Intersect being involved in that space, we're helping to alleviate those concerns and to help each side of that divide, the church and social services, be able to collaborate for the common good. I'm excited about the opportunities that are present right now in mental health systems for there to be services embedded in those systems that know how to navigate multiple spaces. Because people are seeing that there's real gaps, that there's multiple groups in our community, faith communities, service organizations that are each trying to do good, that are each trying to help people with mental health struggles, but that for many reasons often don't talk to each other and collaborate with one another. But more and more work is being done to show the possibilities when those two sectors begin to work together. And we've been getting increasing calls from different communities across the country saying, we want to be able to bring these two worlds together, but we're not exactly sure how to do it. And as we get these calls, we're going and we're providing consultation and training so that the work of Intersect can be scaled. The work of Intersect can be practiced in different communities across the country, but in ways that adapt to the specific needs of those communities, adapt to the specific resources and people already doing good work in those communities, in a way that take the best of what they're already doing, but provide a framework and provide some guiding principles that allow them in their communities to be bridge builders and allow them, using their own experiences, walking in two worlds of the church and social services, and be able to bring those worlds together in a way that can allow them to be fully people of faith and fully engaged in spaces where people don't agree with their faith.
I think that's a wrap on Dave. You're all right. That's okay.
Okay.